Everybody, welcome to another episode of The Cynical Marketers, episode 79. We're in season 2. It's episode 27 in the second season already. We are rolling right along. This is version 3 of this now. We have attempted to record with our high levels of skills. Mine, it's not Nada, it's me. I keep screwing this stuff up, so.
Our high production value.
Learning a new tool to do new things, and we're testing out new things always. This is what we do. Right. Nada and I always do this in marketing because we work as consultants and have for several years now. So you always have to be learning new stuff. When you're in-house somewhere and you're comfortable as a W-2, maybe you can get comfortable and you kind of forget things and you just fall into what happens in your job.
For sure.
But not for us. We're always trying to learn. So I'm doing stuff with OBS Studio. They don't pay us, trust me. So we're learning new things, and I screwed up the second recording. The first one was not my fault. That was Riverside.
Yes. So it's like we are in an abusive relationship with Riverside. We keep going back to it, and it just keeps,
because it does make some things easy for sure. But man, we have had nothing but trouble lately with it. Right. And we've been with Riverside for over a year.
Yeah.
Since we started this podcast, it's basically been on Riverside. And just in the last couple of months, it has just all of a sudden gotten rough. So
for sure,
we're trying something new, and it burned me. So here we go. What we're doing today, after that rambling, is Nada found this video online and it was going around, and it's not this guy. So if you're watching, don't get mad at the guy. Somebody sent him this. So we're going to react. Right. We're going to talk about this video of what this company is doing. So if you want to check this thing out here, see what you all think of what this guy has to say.
This company's trying to track their employees' personal phones. From managing director to all staff. Hi, everyone. As part of our commitment to team safety and smarter ways of working, I support team safety and smarter ways of working. From June 1st, we'll be asking all team members to enable always-on location sharing through the company Teams app on their mobile devices. We want to track you at all times. Mm-hmm. This will help us coordinate better across sites and support lone worker safety. Of course, it's about safety. It's always about safety, right? Always. If you want to justify any terrible policy, it's safety. From James to all staff. Hi, Sarah. A few questions before I enable this. I like this. I like this response. You should ask questions. I don't have a work phone, so this is a personal device. Is the company asking for permanent location access on phones we own and pay for ourselves? What is the legal basis here? Great question. There isn't one. Who has access to the location data, and for how long is it retained? Is there an opt-out for people who don't want their personal phone tracked around the clock? Thanks, James. James, great questions, and I love you sent that to all staff so that everyone can have visibility into the answers here, I hope. Hi, James. Thanks for raising this. The data is only accessible to management and won't be misused. Oh, it's only your boss and your boss's boss who's going to see where you are all the time, including on weekends. But don't worry. We're not going to hold anything against you.
No, of course.
We'd ask everyone to approach new initiatives in the spirit of trust that makes this company a great place to work. The spirit of you're going to lecture about trust. Let's take this offline, of course. In the spirit of trust, I'd rather you not call me out in front of everyone, James. So why don't we discuss this privately where not everyone can see how terrible we're being? From James, again, back to all staff. Good for you, not letting her take this offline. All, apologies for the additional email. Just thought you all should know. Sarah privately messaged me, sending this to all, about a message that the managing director privately DM'd him. I love it. Sarah privately messaged me to suggest my position here might not be the right fit after asking whether a company policy is legal. Wow. You read the email with me. His questions were professional. They were appropriate. They were exactly what anyone should be asking in this situation. And she's threatening his job for asking that. Be cautious before you download this. Good warning. And I won't be coming in tomorrow. Sarah, my formal letter is already on your desks. James telling us that he's out. Your choice is to let your company surveil you 24/7 when you're at home on your personal device. And if you question it, your job might be gone. Like, get out of there, run. This story, all the others come to me through DMs. If you've got ones like this, shoot me a DM.
Boy, what do you think?
So that the last part of that video really made my blood boil, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think, well, first of all, the answer is no. I'm not adding location tracking. It's just would not. I mean, if I got that email, I would just sit there and violate the company policy and let them fire me for violating the company policy. I wouldn't have resigned.
I'm
is
wondering what the
my
company
thought
is. It
there,
has to
but
be a smallish company who doesn't have professional HR, because that seems to be a manager responding, and that manager doesn't know how to respond
right.
to something like that, hasn't been trained. And there's certainly no
Maybe.
attorneys around because
No, never
there's,
adults in the room.
because my problem here, and I know you and I disagree on this, my problem is
Yes.
not necessarily with the tracking. I don't like that, but it's okay. Look, if you're a W-2 employee from 9 to 5, I get it. My problem is that you're saying put it on, it has to be on your personal devices. And that's where I would draw the line. Be like, no, you're not doing that. I'm not turning that on my cell
Yeah.
phone. If you want to track me, then you give me work stuff to use. And then fine, do whatever you want to. It's your work stuff. I'm not paying for it. But you're not doing it on
Right.
anything I'm paying for myself. That's not happening.
And I am just anti-tracking altogether.
Sure.
I know that, we've, as we said, we recorded a couple of episodes on this. So I think like we are very familiar with each other's views on this. But basically, like my thought is, to your point, Mike, never on a personal device, right?
Yeah.
So if your job doesn't require you to necessarily have to be tracked. Like if you're a truck driver, a delivery driver, you're transporting something, you're a fleet manager of some kind, something that requires people at your job to know your location, fine, provide company devices and do that. Otherwise, what are we doing? Like, I think, like, I know you have your HR reasons for for
Yeah.
this being appropriate for even work devices, but I genuinely feel like if your management policy has come to this, you need to just undo whatever it is that's happening and start at a leadership level and undo the mess. I was going to
My
use a
feeling
different
is
word, but
that
I
it's
don't know if I can say
probably,
the F word
they,
on.
they probably got to this because they are having problems. And so we had to make a policy now that we can use, that we can actually start to develop a case against people then that we can finally remove some bad employees. And I know your thought is like, what do you care as long as I'm getting the work done? It's like, well, I am paying you. So yeah,
Right.
it's my time.
That's absolutely.
And we don't know, like you had brought up in a previous recording of this, like, well, what if I want to work from the library? Fine. But why can't you just tell me you're going to be at the library today working? It's not a big deal. If we were in the office and you wanted to go work at the library, you wouldn't just walk out and go. You'd say like, hey, is it cool? I'm going to go work over at the library for a little while. I just need to get out of here for a bit. Is that I'll be online. I'm going to be working. I'll just be at the library. You would say something to somebody, So my feeling is that they probably come to this because they've got problems and they're trying to manage some folks out now. Because that's why every policy in your handbook came about from some employee causing a problem. And now we have to make a rule, and that my feeling is probably where this comes from. And it's being handled poorly because I think companies do a very bad job today. They don't prepare people to be managers either. They don't train people on how to manage anybody, actually. They just promote whoever the best one is. And that doesn't mean you're going to be a good manager. And that, number one, saying, let's take this offline after you've been talking to all employees. Now it looks like you're trying to hide something. I think that was a bad look. Wasn't handled right. And then to threaten somebody's job just for bringing up the question, well, maybe you're not the right fit. Okay. I've been in companies where that has happened before.
No.
I've been there, right? Where, like, well, maybe you're just not the right people, right? We've both been there. We've seen this in a recent one.
Right.
So not handled well.
Yeah.
Bad. And I
just have a problem
with I would think that they're probably a smallish company. I bet their HR person's 23. you know? So,
Probably.
mm,
It's to me, it's just like, I just have a problem with the tracking. I mean, I used
yeah,
to work for a company where, I had a company provided laptop, and I had to everything from the moment you log into your laptop until you log out of the laptop for the day is tracked. Any website you visit, any app you visit, you log in through their VPN, like, that was their standard and the way they secured, what their business applications. And I'm fine with that, right? I think that and especially in any office job, I would argue that there is a lot of jobs that just sort of expect you to be on call, right? Which sounds crazy to say for somebody like us, for example, who do marketing, but we worked in companies and and we've contracted for companies where somebody is messaging you at 9 p.m. to do something, right? So
yeah,
maybe you're carrying that work phone with you, but you're on your personal time. There's very little separation of personal and business time once you get up to a certain level in any position in corporate, right? The whole like work life balance is bullshit, right? Like that doesn't
right.
exist. At the moment the technology enabled us to work from anywhere is the moment that every single employer expected you to be available. And then you're not a team player and you're not, doing things in the best interest of the company or for your job if you don't make yourself available in your what considered off time, right? Like after 6 p.m. or whatever on weekends, whatever it may be, right?
Yep.
Um, I just think like if you have to get to the point, and we've talked about this, but like obviously folks that are listening to this don't know that we've had, two previous conversations on this. You are looking at it, Mike, from somebody who has managed bigger teams, right? Who has managed upwards of hundreds of people on your team, where I've been, anytime I've managed anybody, it's usually been consultants or like one or two direct employees, right? Like I've never had a huge team to manage. If I ever have to get to a point where I am like, I need to know where my people are, like you said, it's probably something about performance is probably triggering this issue. But I don't think tracking people is the way to resolve it. I think it's asinine. Like I don't care if you give me a work tablet. I'm going to leave it on my desk then at 5 and I'm done. Don't expect anything else to be done in
Sure.
my personal time. You
Well,
need to
that's my
track my
thing is
location,
like, I think they're
you
fine if
know?
it's a work device and it's work hours. But
Right.
that's the problem with it, you putting it on my personal cell phone. If you gave me a work device and you want me to track that's
Right.
tracked, great. But at 5 o'clock, I turn it off and it
Right.
goes,
I'm
right?
out. Yeah.
But that's the problem with it being on my cell phone is I'm not ever turning that off and it's always with me. You don't need
Right.
that. That's where my
Yeah.
thing is on personal devices. And I think the employees are already, I'm not a lawyer, but I think that they already have
Right.
some issues if they have already put work on their personal cell phones. You shouldn't ever
Right. Well, I've
cross
learned that the
pollinate
hard
your
way.
devices.
Right. Yeah. I
Because
have
if you
learned
ever
that the
have a
hard
legal
way.
problem at work and it's on your personal cell phone, and people are always like, that will never happen to me until it does. And that's why
Until it happens to
I
you.
come from the restaurant business where everything and anything can happen and has. So I've had a
Yeah.
lot of experience with issues and court and lawyers and cases, right? So that's where
Yeah.
I'm always like, I wouldn't do that. And people are like, what are the chances? I'm like, I don't know, but I've seen it and it's not pleasant.
Right.
I wouldn't do that.
It's not fun, yeah. You're like, "Don't do it." But I think, Mike, like, I think to me, it's kinda like, I get it if you really need this. I mean, there's people who are, like, installing apps on their phones so that they appear active on Teams all the time. It's
Yeah.
always these companies who use Microsoft Office
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff, right? That's, like, archaic, and they have no way to track people, and, like, they get upset if, like, you go idle on your Microsoft Teams, and I worked for one of those companies. They're not in business anymore, fun fact. But, I think if you get to that level of policing, there is a bigger issue, right? And so I think just asking people to track their location, like, why do you need to know my location? If there is a performance issue, address the performance issue. If there's a morale issue, address the morale issue. When you get to tracking me, I mean, we're already being tracked all the time, right? Like that was the funny thing, I think, when people were like, with their phones and flock cameras. And we've done a podcast talking about the stuff that they're installing into cars for,
Yeah.
scanning our facial, like, your eye, like movement and, your face to make sure that you're capable of driving, that you're not under influence for safety, right? Like it's always for safety. Um, what is this overwhelming need to know all the things all the time? We're literally without any privacy. Like I get that my employer has my address, right? But that's like the HR and possibly management higher level. Like my teammates might not, right? If you are expected to be tracked, but your person that is informing you that you're going to be tracked on your location cannot answer the reasons as to why or how to turn it off, or if the expectation is that this goes on your personal device, what is the end goal? Like, to say everything is for safety is a joke. We've already talked about this when we talked about the, ring commercials, right? Ring commercials for Super Bowl when they had that dog, right? The lost dog. And we were like, we all saw that commercial. We all know that's not about the dog, right? Like you go into any neighborhood now, you can be seen on a Ring camera. You can be seen on what is that app called? Like Nextdoor or whatever, where people post everything that's going on in their neighborhood. There is no I can't take my dog out for a walk without passing at least 10 Ring cameras where I live, Mike. Like I live in an association of townhomes, right? So what is this obsessive need to know where people are? What are
Does it,
these people doing for a living to need to share their location? Even during work hours, who cares? You know?
well, because when I tried to have a meeting with somebody last week, when I had a client issue, I found out one of my people was at the friggin' gym. And
Yeah,
then he's like, well, who cares? I got all my work done last week. But I had a thing pop up and I didn't know I couldn't get you. You didn't respond,
right.
you know?
And see, yeah,
And
and
don't
I
tell
get
me
that
people
as
aren't doing it. You're out during the day. People
oh
are
yeah,
abusing it. I've
oh
been
yeah,
remote since 2018, and I can tell you that
yeah.
all day long the
You
gym is
were
busy now. It used to not be because people had to be at work, but now you're like, what are you doing here? And I can judge. I have clients, and I am a legit contractor consultant. I work whenever I want to.
right.
That's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not a W-2
Yes,
employee of anybody, so I can be out whenever I want
right.
to. That's why I like what we do, how we do this.
Yes.
But now you're at the gym, and
Yep.
you're like, what in the hell? Why is
Yeah,
it so busy? What are you all doing here? I'm sure you're at work right now, right?
right.
And look, it's
But
not
see, like, and you were remote before remote
before it
became
happened.
kind
Since
of a full-blown
2018,
thing over
I have worked
COVID,
from
right?
home essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, like, you were remote before COVID forced a lot of companies to be remote,
But
right?
when we were all in the offices, I knew where you were. You were out at your desk.
Right,
And if I stuck out like, hey, where's everybody? Oh, they're doing blah blah over
right,
here. I knew where you were. You weren't being tracked,
right,
but I knew. And if I had something, I knew I could get you, you know?
right.
So I don't know. I think it's a trade off. Again, it's the personal device thing that is a problem for me. And if you have already put Teams on your personal phone for work, I think you've already got a problem because you had to approve there's an administrator somewhere who can wipe your phone, I bet. Because if your phone gets stolen, you don't want
Right,
sensitive data. I just finished a
right.
consulting gig contract with a very, very large law firm, and they are very
Yeah,
strict on data and disclosures and things because of the kind of
yeah,
casework they do. And they're like, yeah, if
yeah,
you put this on your phone, you have to give the administrator permission to be able to
mhm,
remote wipe it. Because if you lose your phone,
yeah.
we don't want someone getting into our stuff. You're like, okay, well, guess what? I'm not going to put it
Well,
on my
guess what?
phone then.
That's not going on my phone,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. We'll do it on my desktop, and that I'll
Yeah,
only do this
but I
stuff when I'm
think
at home.
yeah, and I just think I think tracking in general is crazy. I wouldn't have done what that guy did. I would never resigned, right? That would
Yeah.
not have been a decision for me to resign. I actually would have not followed that policy. I would have not allowed location tracking. I don't allow anybody in my life to have my location. Why am I going to give it to my employer? You know what I'm saying, Mike? Like I don't have, and I get it. People do that for spouses, or, I have my son's location, for example, but also he's a teenager. Somebody needs to be in charge, right? Like, but I just feel, for me personally, it's just the tracking of it, regardless of where it is, it just feels incredibly invasive and inappropriate. And I think that, like, I would have waited to get fired is what I would have done. I would be like,
My
yeah, I'm not
as a
following this policy. Try to enforce it. Where's the legal cause
Yeah,
behind it? Go ahead and fire me, and now
that's
I can
fine.
sue you.
And that's
You
great.
know?
And as somebody, again, I've managed people and I've managed restaurant people. So there's nobody worse than servers to try to manage. So my response, if somebody comes at me like that, oh, fire me, like, not a problem. Uh,
Yeah,
all of you return to office beginning on the 1st of next month. You're right.
yeah.
You were right to call me out. We can't put it on your phone. Now, all of you return to office. There you
What an
go.
AI
Happy
response. You were
win.
right to call me out.
Happy win, everybody. Keep it off. I'm
Yeah,
not tracking your location anymore, but now you're going back to the office.
yeah.
Suck it. And I know that makes me a management bootlicker, but I have managed enough people that I know most of the time.
Yeah.
Do you remember in the first Men in Black movie? There's a line in that first Men in Black movie that I just love between Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, the two characters, where
Mhm.
when Will Smith finds out that there's aliens, and he's like, why haven't
Right,
you told the world? People are smart. They can handle this. And Tommy Lee
right.
Jones says, the person is smart. People are idiots and they're unpredictable and they're dangerous. And you know this, right? This is how it
Yeah,
is. Like, not for you, you're thinking about it in your situation. You are a good worker. You're conscientious. You do the right thing. You start
thank
talking to more
you.
and more people. And when you manage more and more people, you'll find out a lot of folks you're
Yeah,
working with are not. They're not that. And they're taking
yeah,
advantage of hard workers like you to cover for
yeah.
them, you
And I
know?
I see it. I see your point, Mike. I just still feel like I just, I would be the person that would be like, "Nah, you can
I
fire me."
know.
And then I would
I
get
would too,
fired, and
like,
then I would go
especially in my
collect
younger days,
unemployment,
man, like,
you know?
I wasn't doing anything. God, I was such a pain in the butt when I was younger, always right about everything.
Yeah,
Um, no, I get it, and I understand, and if I was HR or leadership here, I would not have
mhm,
pushed this because of the personal device aspect, and I have
right.
had this when I was fractional CMO for a company in Florida. Um,
Mhm,
they wanted things added onto people's phones, employees of mine, and they're like, "Well, no, give me a work phone and I'll do that."
right,
Chat. They wanted
right,
like and it was a Microsoft. It was a Microsoft thing again. It was Teams, you know.
right.
And they're like, "No, I don't want to put any work stuff on my
No,
personal cell
I'm not
phone.
putting stuff on my, yeah.
If
And,
you want,
I've
if
made
you
that
want, give
mistake
me a
before,
cell phone."
I've made that mistake before of putting things on, um, putting things on my phone that are work related, just for my own kind of like, oh, I can be accessible, or I make
I
sure that
know,
I don't
I
miss
know. It's
anything,
so
or whatever the
convenient.
thing, right? And so, I've done that. And I've said this to you kind of offline, but like, if there was an option for me to go back to a dumb phone, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Hmm.
I've realized that I spend too much time worrying about work related things anytime that phone is in my hand. So it's Slack
Yeah,
messages. And, obviously we work for ourselves and our client. And, in our statements of work, we're very clear on the response and expectations for our clients, right? We outline that into detail, right?
hmm,
Because we know that, this is how we want to work, right? Like, we don't want to set an expectation that every client we have can message us at any moment and everything gets dropped to attend to that one
yeah,
client, right? Because that's not realistic. As much as I'm sure clients want to see that happen, that's not realistic at all. And so, like, I get, I've made the mistake of putting all my work things, my work email, Slack, Jira, like all the things, right, on my phone. My work is such that no actual work can transpire on my phone. Like, I can't build anything in Klaviyo or Attentive.
yeah,
Those don't have native apps that allow me to like send an email from my phone. It's very difficult to do on a phone. But or like, I've downloaded Shopify so I can check client sales and if a promotion is doing well. And then I live and breathe work 24/7, And so I've stepped away from that for my own sanity and to create some of my own boundaries. So I cannot imagine. I think personally I would have anxiety thinking that like somebody is tracking my phone because I've downloaded Teams on my phone.
Mhm.
Like when I'm going grocery shopping or when I'm out on the weekends or where I'm doing things with my son. Who has this information? How safe is this company? Like how,
Yeah,
companies are getting hacked out left and right. Like how safe is this data? What do you need this
they're not.
data for?
That's why
It's
I
just
wouldn't put
not.
it on my personal for sure.
Yeah.
And if I were leadership there or HR, I would have said like, no, you can't make them do that on their personal. That's
Yeah. You can't make
ridiculous.
anybody do that
You
on their
absolutely
personal.
will not win this either.
Right.
If that guy were to fire, well, because he even if he never had any negative actions taken against him, he just went ahead and resigned.
Right.
So I'm not sure
Right.
he would have to claim a constructive discharge, which is when you quit, but you quit because my situation was so bad. Essentially, I was forced into it.
Right.
He would have to claim that. And it sounded like James is probably a white dude under 40. And unless he's a veteran or protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act, James
Right.
isn't in any kind of protected class at all. So likely nobody's
Right.
going to care about James.
But that's the thing though, too. That's why I said, like, I wouldn't have quit.
Yeah.
I would have been like, if you want me to do this, fine, then I need a work phone, right? If this is what's being, pushed.
Yeah.
And obviously these companies don't want to pay for work phones. Most don't.
Right.
So hey, listen,
If
if you want me to do this,
I wouldn't put it on personal. It's so crazy. And again, that's where this company here didn't have guidance. They likely don't have anyone in HR who knows even how to handle these
Yeah.
situations. The management, that manager was bad. I think so many companies now, when like I have a master's in HR, I got into HR because I like training and development.
Right.
That's what I liked in HR. And what businesses have that anymore? Even
Right.
nobody.
They don't. They really don't.
You know,
Nobody has anything.
What are
like
they
that
really
anymore.
doing? They're
Big
not doing any
companies.
development. And I think that is where so many of these companies, certainly the tech companies, none of them are developing people.
Right.
They're not
No, we
training
just
people on
did.
how
We
to
just
actually
talked
be
about
a
this.
manager.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about Bolt, who fired their entire HR team, right?
Right.
So, like, it's none of these people know what they're doing. And the thing is, as a company, you're opening yourself to all kinds of liability because we try to look this up and there's no laws around this, right? There's no laws, there's no regulations. Maybe potentially touches on some of the biometric stuff if people use their phone or their fingerprint to unlock, or like their face, or their fingerprint to unlock their
Yeah.
phone. But it's, there's no rules here. So a
But you're
private
just going to
company,
have,
again,
I mean, if a lawyer's
pri-
out there, the liability for the company, several things, and I can think of, because this is what employees will be doing too, is thinking, how can I file an EEOC claim or something?
Right.
So you have two similarly situated employees and somebody gets promoted and one doesn't. And the other one's like, well, I like to go to strip clubs on the weekends. And I think they knew that. And that's why I
Right.
didn't get promoted. And this guy goes to church every Sunday. So they see that location and the company would be like,
Right.
no, we didn't use that at all in
Right.
in the decision making. Well, then
but
why are you
you
tracking
can't
it? You have that
prove
info.
it.
No, I think you
It
did.
becomes-
Now you're going to have to defend that.
Right.
And what happens okay, you have tracking or something. What if something goes wrong with my cell phone all of a sudden? My cell phone dies one day and I get the black screen of death.
Yeah.
Hey, this happened after I turned on tracking. You guys ruined my phone. You owe me a phone. No, we don't.
Yeah.
Your phone's 4 years old. It probably just died. No, it happened after you did it. Okay, well, I'm going to file a claim. You're just asking for trouble to do this stuff as an employer. And all of you out there you don't have the experience to know exactly what employees are capable of doing and filing claims over in all of these issues.
Yeah.
Like I said, I spent so many years in the restaurant business. Every time someone tells me of a decision they're thinking of for employees, I'm thinking of how can it go wrong? What would be the wrong thing here? So no, I wouldn't do that.
I just, I
Don't do that.
think and I'm not like, I'm a huge fan of remote work. I think, and
Yeah.
this is probably going to be one of those clips that gets cut from our, show, and I'll get murdered for this on with the comments. But the best thing that came out of COVID for me was remote work. Like, for better or worse, it's remote work.
Yeah.
As a mom, as, an entrepreneur, as somebody who has always had a full-time job and a side hustle, as they call it now, right? And I've always freelanced, always done my own thing. The best thing to happen to me was getting the commute out of my day.
Yeah.
Right? It was that 45 minutes to go to the office and an hour to get back, depending on traffic, because, it's Chicago. And to get that time away, like, to just wipe that clean, made me extremely more productive. Now, granted, I have personal issues, so I'm the person that checks my email at like 10 p.m. before I go to bed and occasionally works until midnight, right? Like, that's my own nonsense. But to go remote was honestly a blessing, because then I'm like sending my kid to school and I can pick him up if I need to. And I don't have to leave work early and ask three people if I can leave to go pick my kid up from school and then still spend 45 minutes trying to get there to get him. I can do laundry in between meetings. I can do all the things. So I personally will never, ever, ever return to an office
Mhm.
unless it's our office and I can come
Yeah, I
and go
know.
as I please,
I
right?
hope.
Like, and I think for people, and I think there's been a lot of cases of, we've heard remote workers, like you said, Mike, like misusing that time, doing 2, 3 remote jobs at a time, right? Like, hustling in that way, doing different things. And I get why employers are nervous about how that time is spent, but I think it comes down to culture and performance more so than micromanaging locations and time spent on the computer. I think that, like the example you cited, which is like, you're at the gym and I can't get a hold of you, and we have like urgent client issue. If you were at the office, you'd be available immediately. Well, that's a performance issue. Right? That can be addressed. Like, I couldn't get a hold of you for what was your work time, like your 9 to 5, right? Like,
But then there
that can
would,
be addressed
so
in different ways.
what's the handbook policy then that you would have to be able to cite then for that employee to write that down as documentation? So now do I have to make you have X number of minutes, and am I going to set a timer? Cause now that would be what would have to happen. It can't just be
Yeah,
that I couldn't get a hold of you. What actually is the
right,
handbook policy now? What specifically is the policy? Was that person trained on that? Did they know,
right.
you know?
Yeah,
And
no,
were
I
they
get it.
coached on this? Was there a warning? Has it happened before?
Yeah.
Who else?
I just
You know?
ugh,
Oh, you told
I
this
just don't
person,
wanna
you
be
told
tracked, like,
John, but
period.
Jenny didn't know. Jenny didn't know that was
Yeah,
the policy. So yeah, John did it,
yeah,
but Jenny, you know, oh,
yeah.
John did it, but Jenny didn't. Jenny now has a problem because John goes to the gym all day, every day. And you guys never knew this, but Jenny, oh, because a client called, now it's a problem.
I
Oh,
see what
okay.
you're
Only
saying.
when women go
I
to the
don't
gym.
know.
It's only when
Like,
women go to the gym then that you guys have a problem with it. I get it. Oh, because
yeah,
Jenny needs to pick up her kid. John doesn't have kids because he's a man, or John's wife doesn't.
right. See, and I love your HR brain, because this is why we think differently on
Yeah.
these things, because you're thinking, coming at it from like, oh dear God, this can unravel so quickly. Whereas I'm like, I'm just like, trust the people that work with you, like, and yeah, I get that that's not always the case, but I just don't know. Like, that whole video, Mike, like, rubbed me the wrong way. And the
I
guy
know.
was,
I know. Like I said, there's stuff I didn't like. There's a president of ours years ago who said, trust but verify.
I don't
Oh,
know. But
yeah.
yeah,
Trust
let
but
us know what you
verify.
guys think.
I think if you want
Yeah,
to trust your employees, sure. And good
but
ones you
verify.
can. And for
Yeah.
everyone who's like, well, because like for you, Nada, this annoys you because you are conscientious every day and you
I
work
work a
hard. You do
lot.
everything you can
I
for,
like enjoy work. That's
yeah.
just been always my thing.
And
I'm
so it would
always
annoy
working.
you where you're taking it, and the good employees always do take policies as going at them. Those are the best employees. Whenever there's some rule coming out, the best employees are the ones who are upset because they're like, what the hell, man? I don't need this. I know it's not
Right.
for you, but I
And
can't
if
come
you're
out and tell you
babysitting
who
me
this is
now,
for. I can't actually say it's for that guy. You know, it's not for you guys, but we have to put it out. It's got to be blanket. It's got to apply to everybody. We cannot make special rules for the idiots. It's got to apply to everybody. I'm sorry. I know it catches all the good people up too.
Yeah.
This is why it sucks when you have bad employees.
Let us know what you guys think in comments. Lance, if you're still here, say something. But let us know what you guys think. I think this is just such an interesting thing because I feel like no matter where we turn, we're being tracked, right? Like it's the flock cameras and the Ring doorbells and work now asking you to put location sharing on your phone. Like I don't even share location with like the closest people in my life. I feel that's crazy.
My wife and I never had those turned on. Yeah, I know.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's, it's just such a weird feeling. And I think it's going to get worse. And I think it's, as technology changes and people are, using different, AI tools and different things to kind of have some shortcuts in their work. I think that this is going to become a thing. And
this is my problem
let us know what you guys think.
The pushback on it too. Like you said that COVID made remote work and you're thankful for it. I think remote work is a double-edged sword. And,
I love it.
But your employers now, when they figured out that, hey, if our office is in Chicago and you can work from the suburbs, can't I hire somebody from Pakistan? Do they have to be in the suburbs? Can't they be in Pakistan or Vietnam?
Well, look, I've traveled overseas and worked. Right. And I've traveled overseas and worked.
Yeah.
Right. Like and worked my 9 to 5 US based job for a couple of weeks while I was traveling, to go see my mom. Like I get it, Mike. Like I get that it's kind of become like, and I mean, our industry especially has changed a ton. It's why we're both, even we have our own consultancy agency, and then we both work individually as consultants on some, for some other companies in contract terms for a few months, for longer, our entire industry has changed where the nature of our jobs has really leaned into the 1099, like the consultancy field, right? Very few people now, if you go on LinkedIn, very few folks are hiring in-house marketing full-time. And if they are, they're paying terribly. Right.
Exactly. Cause I don't need you. I don't need you expensive Americans who expect to make X amount of money. I'll hire somebody from Pakistan. They'll work for a tenth of what you will.
Anywhere overseas, right? Like anywhere overseas, because the tools have enabled people to, have access to multiple languages, to be able to communicate in multiple languages. And that's all fine. Like for me personally, love remote work.
I enjoy it too. And I couldn't imagine having to do
come hell or high water if I had to go back into an office. Yeah.
I just think it made it very easy for businesses to just replace you with cheap overseas workers. Because it used to be, and that's why businesses were founded in Chicago and in San Francisco, in big cities, because you had a large employment pool to draw from of people who, were good. You didn't start a business in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, in a town of 78 people because you couldn't get people to work for you. Now you can go.
But now
you can go.
Now you can
build cheap in Nebraska and then hire and get all of that cheap. Sell. Everybody wants to sell to the American market where I can sell my product and service at American rates, but then I want to hire overseas workers and pay overseas rates so that I get the profit difference between the two, right?
Well, and I think and we can have a whole separate podcast and a discussion on how things should be taxed on a company level.
I know we're straying now away from being tracked.
Contractors, right? I think you can definitely have that's a separate discussion, and I think we probably our views there align. But I think that the remote work is the nature of the work now. A lot of folks work remote or they work hybrid. You go into a doctor's office now, AI is taking notes on your appointment. Like the world has changed, over the last 5 years. And I think when you're asking your employees to share their location, you have to be mindful of what is the fallout of that. Right. And like you said, Mike, there's, companies have maybe legal basis and rules for wanting to do this so that they know that the work that they're paying for their W-2 employees is actually happening and happening appropriately, and there's no misuse of company devices, laptops, tablets, phones, whatever it is, right? But I also think, like, fine, you can do that, but you also should be looking at management, like your morale. Something else is wrong. It's like that's like the symptom of,
Yeah.
something else just going very badly for you.
Oh, there's so many problems
I
with
don't
it.
know.
I think,
Ugh,
like your example
yeah,
too. One last example to say from the HR mind: you're walking into the library to go work off site for your job, and you slip on the
yeah.
ice and fall and get hurt. Workers' comp?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't think that'd be workers' comp.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100% they'll file. They'll go to workers' comp
Yeah,
for it, and you'll get
interesting.
a lawyer. They'll have a lawyer on a slip and fall on their company. You know,
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought that.
because there's no
I
policy
feel
that
like
says
I
you
know.
can't or something, right?
Yeah.
Like a lawyer will argue it. Like you were going to work, it was your
Yeah.
work commute, you know, or whatever,
Interesting.
right? Or not even outside, because maybe now, because like you're not on workers' comp if you get in a car accident going to work, but say you're
Right.
inside the library and something happens to you
It
there.
was like,
A
yeah.
book, somebody drops a book on your head, and now you have chronic headaches. You were sitting there
Yeah.
working, doing your work. That workers' comp,
Yeah.
you know?
See, I wouldn't think so, but I don't know the H see, like, this is where I'm coming from it from a different view,
Yeah,
right? Like, you're coming from it, like, from HR policy, and I'm coming from it, like, "Stop tracking me. Like,
I know.
let me do my job," you know?
All right.
It's, but
We
let
will
us know what you guys think.
let us know if you're
I think
here.
this is such an interesting topic, and let us know if anybody has gotten this far in our podcast or will hear this clip specifically maybe. Let us know if this is happening in your company.
Yeah. Are
Let
you
us know what
tracked?
job you have. Like, what
Yeah.
do you do where you are required to be tracked? Are you, like, we get it for truck drivers, delivery drivers, all of that stuff, but like, what else do you do in a company that would require you to be tracked? Let us know. I'm curious. I'm curious if other company people have experienced this.
Yep. All right.
So,
Thank you for tuning in. If you're still here, we appreciate it.
thanks, guys.
Give us a follow and a share, a like, something, interact, engage, a comment, do something. If you check us
Yes,
out, we'd
please.
appreciate it. Very helpful, of course. Find us on
Yeah.
YouTube, on Spotify, on TikTok, Instagram. We're out there.
Yeah.
So we appreciate everybody.
Absolutely.
We will see you again soon.
Thanks, guys.